Well, the Golden State Warriors are enjoying an all-star break. They just had festivities in their backyard at both Chase Center and Aurora. What a delight it was to take a visit back to the old stomping grounds of the Golden State Warriors. And Sophia Jones was there for all of it. So we're going to get a recap. We're going to celebrate Steph Curry winning a second All-Star MVP award. We're going to talk about Draymond Green's proud and bold proclamation and prediction. He made a big one, and I love it. And we're also going to talk about the lineups with Jimmy Butler. He's played 4 games with the Warriors. They've looked really good since he's arrived. Which lineups are the best? Which lineups are the worst? We're going to break that down as well. It should be a fun time. Let's get into it. It's the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got
is now President. Welcome to the Golden Days. I'm one of your 2 hosts for the afternoon, Cyrus Saatsaz. Sophia Jones is the other. You can follow her on Twitter at Sophia Jones _2. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads and Instagram at Dog Wild, over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program on both those platforms at Golden Days Pod. Before we get rolling, talking about an awesome weekend of all-star festivities, got to give some love to our sponsors. We've got a new one that I'm proud to introduce. Really excited to bring them on board, and that's Humboldt as a tourist destination. Sophia, have you ever visited Humboldt County, which is about 3 to 4 hours drive north of San Francisco? You're shaking your head. You've never been?
No, I've never been.
Oh, well, you now have something to do, whether it's a family trip, whether it's with your friends, whatever the party you're bringing along. Those are my old stomping grounds. I called Humboldt, as I stand over, home for 2 years because I went to Humboldt State University, and it's now called Cal Poly Humboldt, and it is paradise. It literally is the equivalent of visiting Ireland, except it's a drive away. You're immersed in these giant, monstrous old redwoods and sequoias. Legend suggests locals in Humboldt County have been cultivating the most idyllic getaway destination for centuries. And although Mother Nature has been on the job much longer, no doubted, California's Redwood coast. Enjoy a scenic drive through the world-famous Avenue of the Giants, hike in the majestic forest. You could wander through ancient groves. You can go to incredible breweries. You can go to incredible dining destinations. I am so stoked to be partnered with Humboldt. And the website, if you want to check it out, to find a hotel to stay at, to find things to do, you can also reach out to me. DM me anytime you want. I will be your guide for the Lost Coast for Humboldt County. And the website, if you want to get more information, it's very simple. Just go to visithumboldt.com to find out your next travel destination. It is beautiful. It really is. I would say that Humboldt, and whether you're visiting Arcata, whether you're visiting Shelter Cove, Crescent City's a bit much. You're not doing any harm taking a day trip there, but the Humboldt as a whole with the national and local parks, strongly recommended. Go enjoy it. Hit me up if you want any advice, and I will take care of you. Again, visit Humboldt.com. Again, very, very excited to have them as a partner. Today's episode also brought to you by Dr. Tom Rosanelli, the hair restoration specialist. Gentlemen, if your hair is thinning, if it's bald entirely, go check out the doctor. He will take care of you. He's been in San Francisco since 1986, taking care of professional athletes, media types, artists, you name the prominence, and he has been the doctor for that client. Call 415-931-9881. Again, 415-931-9881, or visit rosanelli.com. And if you mention Rick Barry's name, you'll get $500 off because we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Warriors winning a world championship in 1975, coinciding with SNL's 50th anniversary. That was awesome. Side note. I don't know if we want to talk about that at the end of the show, but that was very cool. And so is Dr. Tom Rosanelli. Again, 415-931-9881, or visit rosanelli.com. betOnline.com. And if you're a supporter of this show, at a bare minimum, give him a call and just say what's up, because we want to keep him as a sponsor for us long term, but we also want to deliver to our clients. So just reach out, support the program, support the doctor, so we can continue having him around for a long time. Again, Rosanelli.com for a free virtual consultation. And wrapping it up real fast, Underdog Fantasy, a proud sponsor of our program. Use the promo code GSW for a free pick and up to $1,000 in welcome bonus cash. And BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform. Yes, you degenerates could have bet on the All-Star game. You could also bet on the Warriors. They're back Friday. The game starts here. Sophia Jones, you were at the All-Star festivities. Let's start with Oracle on Saturday, because I'm not a big All-Star guy. Like when these exhibitions happen, that's usually the sign for me to kind of wind things down and hit a reset button and take a little mini vacay. I don't get immersed in these things, but this year was pretty successful, I thought, and especially for the Bay Area. Having the Warriors go back to Oracle, where, incredible memories were made, both with Rick Barry's Warriors, Stephen Curry's Warriors. They had the slam dunk contest, the 3-point contest, the skills challenge there. Give us your recap. How did this Saturday event go at Oracle Arena? Because it looked freaking awesome.
Yeah, so I actually think the Saturday events were still at Chase.
Oh.
But
correct me, please. I'm sorry.
But the Celebrity All-Star game, the celebrity one was at Oracle on Friday, and it was really, really great to go back there and see a lot of the remnants of the atmosphere that Oracle had. And even for the celebrity game, there was actually a really good environment. I've been to a fair share since my dad broadcasts the games for ESPN almost every single year since I can remember. But this one, it was actually very, very good. There was a great atmosphere. Almost the entire lower bowl was sold out. It was really great.
Real quick, so okay, thank you for correcting me on that. Again, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on any of this All-Star stuff. This is for me, it's an opportunity to just hit the reset button and chill. Get some mental rest to recoup. So Friday, the event was at Oracle, the celebrity game. Friday was also Valentine's Day, and there was a clip that you posted on your Instagram account as a short that I think your boyfriend originally posted, and I had no idea you were even going. The last time we talked, you said you didn't get a credential, you had no interest, and then all of a sudden you're on TV giving your dad flowers on Valentine's Day. I thought the best part of that was his reaction. He looked so stunned. He looked, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, clearly a proud dad, though. Like, he looked giddy. He looked like you almost made him vulnerable because he's so good at what he does. And then you suddenly showed up and surprised them, and the dad almost took over. You could see the conflict in him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Well, what went down in that moment? Because I thought it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, just the day of the event, the producer emailed me saying that they're doing a special thing for a couple of the announcers that are doing the broadcast, where they're going to have their kids either give them, for me, it was the chocolates, but for some other people, it's flowers. But they just told me that they're going to grab me at a certain time, and then that they're going to record me giving the chocolates to my dad. So I could tell I was trying to keep it a secret, and I think it worked, but
big time.
He seemed very appreciative.
Oh, hell yeah. You could tell that on one hand, he wanted to just hug you, and like, it wouldn't surprise me if he wanted to cry. But on the other hand, he's broadcasting a game, and you could just tell he was like, I got to keep my composure here. That's my girl. She just surprised me. I'm a proud, like, just the whole thing was very heartwarming, very sentimental. I loved it. It was awesome. What was your reaction to the actual celebrity game itself? Who are the biggest celebrities from your perspective? And are celebrity games entertaining to you? I did not watch it. I watched maybe like 2 seconds of it. But what was your reaction to the celebrity game at Oracle on Friday?
Yeah, this one I would say was entertaining, partially due to the atmosphere, but there is also a balance of having the right celebrities there and also having the right amount of hoopers there. And I felt like there was an okay balance this year for the level of basketball, because you don't want to bring in everyone, but then have them just be airballing everything. So I felt like it was solid this year. The MVP was Rome Flynn, which he's an actor. If anyone's familiar with How to Get Away
I'm
with
not.
Murder, he was on that
Okay.
show, one of my
Okay.
favorite
Yes.
shows. But yeah, kind of a lot of. I was really, really excited for the WNBA players there as well. So seeing Rakia Jackson and Kayla Thornton was really great as well.
And then, so Friday was at Oracle. Stephen Curry made an awesome comment. He said he'd like to see another regular season game played there at some point. Could not agree more. I think that at least the Warriors fan base would absolutely love to have a flashback game at Oracle. It would be phenomenal. And look, if Stephen Curry's publicly asking for it, it would not surprise me if we did see it at some point next year. So don't be surprised if we see a game at Oracle Arena next year. Would you agree with that sentiment, or do you think a regular season game at Oracle is a virtual impossibility?
100%, I agree with that. If some NBA teams can go to Paris and play those games and some of these international ones that we see, I think that one could definitely be played at Oracle again in the regular season.
Totally. Our boy Chardal said he attended the NBA crossover events, plural, on Saturday and Sunday. Got some autographs. Chardal looks like he had a great time. Bravo to you. He also mentions Baron Davis, who's in that celebrity game. Baron's put on a few pounds. I'm not going to sit here and fat shame, but as a former professional athlete, as a former basketball player, yeah, you see, he looks jolly. I guess that's one thing I noticed. You don't have to comment on that. But I thought that was interesting. So Saturday, we're back at Chase Center, and you were there as well. And this was the slam dunk contest.
I wasn't at the Saturday.
Oh, I'm completely off my game. Did you watch any of the Saturday events?
You know, I had to work, so I was broadcasting a University of San Francisco women's basketball game. And then right after, I had to go to the airport to pick up my boyfriend, but we saw the dunk contest.
Your reaction,
on TV.
because I did not watch it. I know Mac McClung won. Your reaction to the dunk contest?
I thought that McClung did a great job again, and it makes me wish that more kind of high-profile NBA players would start participating in the dunk contest again and doing some interesting stuff, because there were some dunks that I felt like I saw where could have potentially been in game. So that's kind of where I have my barometer on if this is a good dunk or not, if a player could do this in game, or is it actually special? And I think that McClung was one of the only people that had every single dunk be not an in-game one.
Yeah, and there was some chatter about the skills contest because Moses Moody and Draymond Green teamed up. There was actually some controversy in that. I don't know if you're well versed on this, but Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama tried to game the system. I don't know if you saw that, where the accumulation of points came from the skills themselves, which included these passing drills that Draymond sadly butchered, I think, in the last round. And the chat can add to this because, again, I did not study this in detail. I will never pretend I'm an expert on All-Star Game festivities, so I'll do my best to recap it. But Draymond the Chris Paul and Wembanyama part, they skipped the shots altogether to save time because how fast you completed the skills also factored into the total points. And so you had Wemby and Chris Paul decide, you know what, we're not going to even bother shooting because each one of those shots, if you miss, is going to add time. So but they got disqualified for that, right? Did you see that as well? And anything you want to add?
Well, my mother is a lawyer, so it makes me just think that if there is no specific jargon about the rules and that specifically highlights that you cannot do this, you have to shoot it, then I think that they found that loophole and exploited it. So I kind of don't agree with the disqualification. I think that, yeah, and Chris Paul, he's always one to know the rule book and try to find as much wiggle room as possible with everything. So he found it there, and I don't think since there was no specific language about it, then they shouldn't have been punished. And I do think that they should add that language, though, because people want to see the players shoot.
Yeah, Chris, and you're right. Chris Paul is a master at exploiting rules, finding loopholes. He used to be the king of the rip through, and they had to make a rule to adjust that because you saw Chris Paul just going to the free throw line endlessly for a tactic that was working, but that no fan wanted to see time and time and again, even though Kyrie Irving, for whatever reason, was not called for that in the Mavericks game, but I digress. So Chris Paul and Wembanyama get disqualified. Moody, I thought, was fantastic in the clips I saw, and then Draymond Green did apologize for Moses Moody because he did not hold up his end of the bargain in the partnership. And the part that I saw that where I think Draymond cost Moody a shot was he was missing the passes. They were not like a bunch of his passes were just not going into the square peg that you're supposed to throw the ball into. Is that what you saw as well? I don't know if there was anything else that Draymond did but he was beating himself up for it. You could tell he was disappointed in himself when it came to Moses Moody. Is that what you saw as well? And anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's a little bit what I saw. And he does take that stuff really hard, especially with Moses Moody. He's a younger player, so I'm sure he wanted to provide a good all-star experience for him.
Absolutely. So anyway, so that was the skills challenge. I don't even know who won. Do you know who won?
I believe Donovan Mitchell and Mobley.
Good knowledge. Thank you for that, because we would have been 0 for 2 there if you didn't have the answer to that. The 3-point contest. Buddy Hield was a contestant in it, and he did well. What can you tell us about the 3-point contest? I believe Dame Lillard ultimately won. Please correct me on that. Recap the 3-point contest first, please. What's that?
Tyler Hero won.
I stand corrected. That's what I meant. Tyler Hero won. So give us your recap, please.
I
don't care about this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, everyone. This is not the part of the NBA I pay much attention to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, Buddy was kind of trending in the right direction in recent games, shooting those threes in games. So it was kind of good to see him make more of them in the contest. Hopefully just another confidence booster before the team comes back.
Totally. And again, I saw a lot of people on social media saying, why can't Buddy do this in the regular season? But so congrats to Tyler Hero. Of course, I knew he won that, right? Again, the All-Star game, whatever. The slam dunk contest, Mac McClung won. Now, Sunday, I did watch the All-Star game because I was very curious to know or to see how this Rising Stars asset, this variable was going to impact things. I loved, maybe love's a strong word. I was very pleased with this new format. I was very pleased with Chuck and Shaq being coaches and Candace Parker and Kenny Smith, because all the shit talking they're doing is hilarious. I love the fact that for the first time in 15 years, I saw defense in an All-Star game. And we'll talk about Steph in just a moment. But what was your thoughts on this new format, which saw basically 4 8-player teams? One of the 4 teams was the Rising Stars. The Rising Stars team played Stephen Curry's team, coached by Shaquille O'Neal. It was close. I was like, it was a little riveting there because I think that each team played to 40, and they were tied at like 28-28 or something like that. It was getting a little sketchy. Your reaction?
I did like that the games felt more competitive for sure. However, Draymond made a comment about that he doesn't think that the Rising Stars should have played on the Sunday All-Star and be given basically that high platform. And I kind of agree with that, just in the sense that the All-Star game is supposed to be for the All-Stars. And it didn't quite feel like that as much with the Rising Stars there. But I do feel like with them there, they definitely made it a little more competitive, again, especially for that first matchup. But the tournament format, I didn't mind. The only thing that I didn't care for was in between the games, it just felt like a really long time, especially sitting in the arena. There was a lot of kind of just filler stuff going on, and you could tell that some of the players lost their stinker because it was just so much raining around.
You're talking about the in-between moments of the games, right? Because it was a tournament format, unlike all previous years where we just had one All-Star game. This time we had a tournament. There were 4 teams, and there was the Rising Stars tournament leading up to this. I can't remember if they played that Saturday or Sunday, but you're absolutely right. The break between the first and second game was, I think, like a Mr. Beast challenge, clearly a tactic aimed at drawing in younger viewers. I just remember when I was doing the family thing and had a stepson, he loved Mr. Beast. I mean, kids love YouTube in general. What were your thoughts on the Mr. Beast challenge? Did that entertain you, Sophia?
It was entertaining. I felt like it was scripted just because I think people aren't just going to throw that much money around without having some contingencies. And especially Dame looked like he was chilling and not really trying to make those 3 shots, but happy for the kid.
Absolutely. And then the second break, I think, was music, right? It was like a local show, had like E40, it had Too Short. But you're right, there was a lot of downtime in between each game. So Steph's team, coached by Shaq, hangs on. They take care of business against the Rising Stars in a game, again, where we saw defense. Like Kyrie was playing real defense. James Harden was playing real defense. They were not going to lose that game. And you could tell both sides were treating it lightly. But the fact that it was tied, and it was the first team to 40, and they were tied, I think, at like 28. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. It was riveting. It definitely was something that you were glued to, because that would have been embarrassing on the All-Stars part of it if they ended up losing that game. So you could tell they started to care towards the end there. And they win. And then Chuck's team won in the Chuck versus Kenny battle. Charles Barkley's team was full of giants. He had like Wembanyama on his squad. He had Nikola Jokic on his squad. We're going to play a clip of an exchange between those two in just a second, which I found very interesting personally. But it came down to Steph and his team, which was missing LeBron, by the way. We got to talk about that in just a moment, because he backed out at the absolute last minute, which I thought was poor form on his part. But your reaction to the main event, an event that Stephen Curry was the star of stars in. He won the MVP, his second All-Star game MVP, putting him in very select company as players who have won an NBA Finals MVP, players who have won multiple MVPs and now multiple All-Star game MVPs. There's only like 3 or 4 players who have ever done that. It's like Steph, LeBron. I wish I had that list on me. There's only 1 or 2 others. But your reaction to Stephen Curry hitting mid-court shots, leading his team over the team of giants who probably were favored in that game if there was a line for it.
Yeah, I thought it was very fitting, especially with how much the love he's been getting from the Bay Area throughout the All-Star weekend. I know that there was a little bit of controversy because some people thought that Jason Tatum should have gotten it, and I believe he was actually the highest scorer of the night, which kind of just goes to show how much that Steph winning the All-Star MVP in Chase Center on the Warriors stomping grounds, it holds some extra significance, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. It was just awesome. I mean, this event clearly represented the Bay Area proudly. It was good to see the global contingent coming here for a weekend. And I thought that when you compare it to a lot of previous All-Star games, I thought it was a wild success. I mean, again, look, I am not a big All-Star guy just because the games don't count. It's mostly fun. It's mostly for the fans. But this was way more interesting than what we've seen in years past. Would you agree or no?
I would agree. And I mean, obviously we probably are biased because we both live in the Bay Area, but just kind of, you can see the descent on fans and just the frequency and myriad of activities related to All-Star just popping up everywhere in the Bay Area. So I think that all contributed to having the overall weekend feel special.
Yeah, and Run TMC, as Rico Lyles mentions, was getting a lot of love. They were coaching some of the Rising Star squads and getting some mic time in front of the audience and the crowd. Going back real fast to Draymond's comments, I wanted to touch on that because Draymond was part of the broadcast panel, whereas the typical crew like Ernie and Chuck and Shaq and Kenny, they were all coaching, right? Or they were emceeing, so they were on the court. So the actual broadcast studio, which was outdoors and outside Chase Center, had like Vince Carter, Jalen Rose. So I'm really stoked to see broadcasting again after, he's been kind of MIA for a little while after being let go by ESPN, and TNT is giving him some time now, which I love. I've always been entertained by Jalen. I think he's a good broadcaster. Anyway, so it was them. I think was Candace out there too with Draymond? I think she was. And then it was Draymond Green himself. Oh, and then Lesko, Adam Lesko, is that his name? The primary, what's his name? Correct me. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I forget. But anyway, so that was the panel, and Draymond Green was one of the four. So maybe Candace wasn't there, but it was Jalen Rose, Vince Carter, that Adam Lesko, whatever his name is, guy who's probably going to someday replace Ernie Johnson when he retires, and then Draymond. That was your 4-person panel, and they had this debate about the rising stars, and Draymond was emphatically opposed to it, largely because in his mind, the principle of the All-Star game is you're recognizing and acknowledging the game's best players. And he didn't think it was fair that these young players who are getting this attention largely because they're new at this, right? But they're suddenly getting the spotlight on a Sunday. He thought that wasn't fair. He also didn't like the format in terms of the Elon ending where first team to 40 is the winner. Like he thought that wasn't cool because suddenly players could no longer pursue records, right? Like scoring records, all-time career records for all-star games. Like people can, like, I guess those records are now affected if they continue with this format. But I feel like in a lot of ways he was in the minority. Charles Barkley came back and said he strongly disagreed with the opinions. They were not on the same stage. So Charles's comments came later on, but Charles responded by saying, look, your generation screwed up this All-Star game where no one cares about it anymore, and they had to make a change like this. I thought it was interesting, and I thought Draymond was in the minority in terms of being a vocal opponent to this new format and the Rising Stars playing on Sunday. What was your reaction to all that? I know you gave your opinion a little bit, but with all that context added in, what was your thought? What's your reaction?
Yeah, I still agree with him about the Rising Stars. I think that should be a Friday exclusive event, but I do like the target score idea. I think that when there's just time, like not every point matters, if that makes sense.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're working to a target, when you're working to a goal, you definitely, especially that low, you definitely want to try to play a little more defense. Every single possession matters a little bit more as opposed to just having a couple of quarters that just feel like they're stretching on for forever.
Yeah, totally. I like it. I get, on one hand, I get Draymond's perspective, like you said, and part of it I think is him just being a little bitter that, because that there were no rising stars when he was a young player himself. I almost feel like he's focused on the prestige of being an all-star a little too much. He needs to focus on the fan perspective and what's going to entertain them the most. But one thing I was not cool with, Sophia, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, is LeBron James with, I think, like an hour to go before tip, maybe 2 hours. Don't quote me on the exact time, but it was very soon before the game started. He decides he's not going to play. He cites an ankle injury as being the reason. Draymond Green naturally comes in LeBron's defense, saying he's been struggling with this ankle injury for a very long time. But I didn't think it was cool that LeBron waited until an hour or so before the game, because if he had made this decision sooner, they could have found an alternate for him. There could have been another player out there who gets their moment in the All-Star game, but LeBron decides to wait until the very last minute so they can't select an alternate. He also shows up in the team picture not even wearing a uniform. I thought it was a bad look. I thought this was an example of LeBron, the attention seeker, LeBron, the insecure individual. It was not cool. It just wasn't cool because his decision, basically by waiting till the last minute, screwed over another player who could have gotten an all-star opportunity that results in a nice bonus in your paycheck, your resume, all the additional credibility and prestige you're adding to your overall resume is diminished because thanks to LeBron waiting to the last minute, you're not going to the All-Star game. I didn't think it was a good look. What did you think about it in terms of LeBron canceling last minute?
Yeah, I think it might have been Kendrick Perkins. I think he was on ESPN talking about it, and he said that it's not what he did, but it's how he went about doing it. While I respect the fact that if you need a rest, you can rest, but if you kind of have that in your mind, especially if this, like Draymond said, has been a prolonged issue with his ankle, then he most likely knew ahead of time. And like you mentioned, just stepped out graciously and leave the floor open for another deserving player.
And Mike Weisberg brings up an interesting point, which is that Anthony Edwards did the same thing. I'm much less informed on that. Are you familiar with what happened with Anthony Edwards where he had to bow out last minute? I don't even know what the injury was. Do you?
I don't, and I don't know the exact timeline of it as well, but
Yeah,
I
me neither.
obviously didn't see him play.
So I'll point the finger at both of them. If Anthony Edwards did the same thing, he deserves criticism as well. If you can't play in the All-Star game, do not wait to the last minute. That just is not fair to your peers in the league who want to play in that game. It isn't fair to the fans. It isn't fair in this particular format to your teammates because these are 8-member teams. So one injury does thin you out considerably. Anyway, so it's just not a cool look. So Mike Weisberg saying it was the same in terms of the timeline and that it was a groin injury. Yeah, they in both cases say something sooner, please. Like give other people an opportunity. Now, Draymond Green came out and said something which I don't know how people feel about it. I know how I feel about it. I freaking love it. Because when Draymond is making bold predictions like this, when he's proclaiming that the Golden State Warriors are going to do what you're going to hear him say, I can't think of a situation where he did not follow through on his promise. And the promise, I will not tell you what it is. I'll let you hear it for yourself. Here was Draymond Green on the TNT panel. I hope TNT does not flag this. If they do, and you're watching this on YouTube, go check out my social media accounts. I do post it there. For the live audience, you get to enjoy this, obviously. But here is Draymond Green on the TNT panel making a Draymond Green prediction. Here is Draymond Green. I'm giddy about that. I love it. Bring it. If Draymond's confident like this, Dub Nation, all I can say is prepare for the ride. This was music to my ears. Sophia, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, and like how you touched upon as well, and like Draymond mentioned, you can't accomplish anything without having that belief first. And so having that belief, and he says it and he really believes it. So I think that is all about just manifestation and speaking into existence what you see for yourself. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. So I love it.
I love it too. And in case you want to hear it on loop, I'm going to provide it for you. Why not? Here is Draymond Green's prediction.
We are going to win the championship. Wow. We are going to win the championship. Wow. We are going to win the championship. Wow. We are going to win the championship.
Should we just end the show like this?
We
just
are going
let it run for like an hour?
Wow. We are going to win the championship. Wow. We are going.
I love the reaction at the end to the wow.
Yeah.
Bring it. This pumps me up. I love that Draymond Green said that. Now, Sophia, any final thoughts before we move on the prediction?
No, I love the energy.
Love it too. And again, he doesn't do this normally. Like Draymond Green is not boldly making predictions and then not backing it up. So this is someone who has won 4 championships, has been a pivotal piece on every one of those title teams, boldly predicting they're going to win a 5th. And I'm not hating on it because I think it's very possible. The Nuggets are going to be a massive obstacle, I think, to overcome. And that game's going to be, I think, late February. Those 2 teams are going to play against each other. Is it late February or late March? It might actually be late March. Every time you see me look on the phone, by the way, it's because I'm looking at my wallpaper on my phone, which has a Warriors schedule. So the Warriors and the Nuggets don't play again until March 17th. I'm very curious about that. Have you seen, by the way, the March schedule, Sophia, for the Warriors?
I have not, no.
I'm gonna read this to you real fast because when folks hear this, they might get a little giddy. The Warriors are set up in the month of March to make an incredible run. I'm just gonna read off the teams. I won't even bother telling you if it's home or road. There's about 15 games here, and these are the opponents. Here we go. Philadelphia, Charlotte, the Knicks. That's daunting. Brooklyn, Detroit, Portland, Sac, Knicks again at home, Denver, again, that one is I'm going to be glued to my TV for that one. That's on March 17th. Toronto, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans. They could escape that schedule with maybe 2 losses, 3. The point is, like, if you're going to see the Warriors make a run, March is it. What's your reaction to hearing that lineup?
No, I'm looking at the same schedule on my phone as well. But like you said, there aren't too many, especially or with Draymond just touching upon, they walk into every single arena thinking that they can win that game. And there's no Celtics. I don't see any Thunder. I don't see any Cavs, which are like the top teams in the NBA right now record-wise. So there should be no reason. Like you mentioned, they could really close out the month with only 2 losses potentially.
It's 14 games in the month of March. The games that are daunting to me, there's 2 Knicks games. Winnable. I think very winnable, but those will be challenging. And at least one of those 2 is at home, obviously. The Denver game. I mean, and the Sacramento's still legit. And they might be a playoff team, but if they don't go 10-4 in the month of March, then that prediction I don't think will hold. But that's a 10-4 run. And a 10-4 run will change a lot of things in the Western Conference standings. So I love it. I love seeing that. And folks, get ready for what could be some fantastic streaks here from the Golden State Warriors. Now, Draymond makes this bold proclamation and leave it to Stephen Curry to be on top of everything. He hears it all. And of course, he heard his teammate bringing up that prediction. So why don't we hear from Stephen Curry? This was after the game during the press conference where he's addressing the media. Obviously, the topic of winning MVP is on the agenda. You see the trophy there if you're watching on YouTube. But he was also asked about Draymond and the prediction. And let's hear what Steph has to say.
I'm excited. I got Draymond on the telecast, guaranteeing we're winning a championship. I love expectations and having something to play for. So he's lighting the fire for sure. But I'm excited. I got Draymond on the telecast.
Repeated there. Your reaction to Stephen Curry, who hears it all, literally. I mean, it's incredible that that Draymond's comments were before the All-Star game. Steph is talking to the media after the All-Star game, and he already knows about the prediction. Your reaction, Sophia?
Yeah, especially he mentioned just lighting a fire. And with that just incentive, because sometimes they might have not thought that they were a championship contending team before. And then that's where you see sometimes a lack of intensity and just trying to make it through the season coast mentality. But with this and with those comments, and Steph said he loves expectations. So it's up to them to rise to it now.
Agreed. And again, so you could tell Steph was given the reaction of his teammate, making the prediction, but my personal opinion is Steph is loving this, and he's a happy boy. We're gonna finish up the show with 2 things here. I want to share with the audience, and I did not make graphics for this, so I apologize to the YouTube audience for not seeing visuals. But I'm going to read off in the 4 games that Jimmy Butler has played for the Golden State Warriors. They've gone 3-1. And I'm going to list to you the best and worst lineups since Jimmy Butler has come to the Warriors. Again, a 4-game sample size is not a whole lot, but we can at least start to get the idea of which 5-member units out there are producing and not producing. But before that, I want to play this clip just because I was very disappointed seeing Nikola Jokic say what he said here. And this was an exchange in the locker room between Nikola Jokic and Victor Wembanyama. And if you value education, this is cringeworthy. I just don't understand why Jokic would react the way he does to Victor Wembanyama, but take a look for yourself and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
You really wrote a book? Yeah. I read before every game. Is that this crazy? So like I wrote.
So Nikola Jokic is basically like hanging his head down, disapproving of the fact that Victor Wembanyama reads a book before games. That really upsets me. I don't like what do you think is going on there? Because if Jokic doesn't like to read, fine. But do not start acting like this world doesn't need more education in it. Never mind the fact that reading does nothing but improve you, provided you're reading something substantial, substantive. But Sophia, what was your reaction to Jokic acting the way he did when Wembanyama told him that he likes to read books?
For the sake of, like you mentioned, just humanity valuing education, I hope that he was just kind of joking and poking fun at Wemby, because it is a very kind of, how do you say, zen thing to do, to read before a game. I mean, it calms your mind, quiets it down, so you're just focused on the words on the page. So that I can understand, and I think, or at least I hope he's poking fun more about that and the fact that it's Wembanyama and he's a kid.
Yeah. I mean, look, A.J. Brown was reading a book in the middle of a postseason run that resulted in a Super Bowl. Phil Jackson would give his players books to read every season, and a different book for each one, depending on the individual. Reading is exercise for the brain, folks. I did not, again, I really hope that was just a bad moment for Jokic in terms of trying to, make a joke that just went over people's heads. But I was very disappointed in seeing that. Folks, read. If you want to increase your acumen, your IQ, just your critical thinking skills, reading is literally how you exercise this organ here. So please do so. So on a lighter note, we're going to finish with lineups. Do you want to hear the top 3 lineups of the Warriors have implemented since Jimmy Butler has gotten here 4 games ago?
Yes.
Would you be surprised if Buddy Hield was in that lineup?
No, I wouldn't, honestly.
So the most optimal lineup since Jimmy Butler has been a member of the Warriors is Steph, Butler, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, and Brandon Podziemski. They are a plus 12 in 4 games. The second most optimal is Steph, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Brandon Podziemski again. You swap Buddy Hield with Moses Moody. That is a plus 8. And third best, interestingly enough, does not have Jimmy Butler in it. It's Stephen Curry, Kevon Looney, GP2, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski. They are also a plus 8. I have one more lineup to share with you because this one's also a plus 8, and that is Steph, Draymond, Guy Santos, Brandon Podziemski, and Quentin Post. That's also a plus 8. I like that lineup. Side note, your reaction to hearing which lineups in the 4 Jimmy Butler games have been most optimal in terms of net rating?
If you would have asked me what lineup I thought was best, the one that you mentioned second would have been my first, but all of them make sense. That last one with Guy Santos and Quentin Post, those kind of seem a little bit more out there, but in watching the recent games, again, it makes sense. But that first lineup, to talk about Buddy, and he has been shooting better recently, and just with the amount of pull that he has on the court, kind of similar, not too quite to the extent, but kind of similar to Steph, where they have to honor that shot and they will chase him around to try to not let that go.
Yeah, it's the spacing alone is the value there for sure. I just wish there was consistency. And the good news is the last game we did see Steve Kerr pull the leash when Buddy wasn't hitting his shots. To me, that's the best strategy with Buddy. If he's feeling it out there, leave him, let him play. But if he's having those nights where it's just he's laying bricks, don't live and die with that, please. Like, you have other options on your team. You don't have to just hope and pray that Buddy's going to figure it out and not, give him 30 minutes and get an 0 for 5 from 3-point line performance. Like, you have other options. Moses Moody, like you said, chief among them. Jonathan Kaminga is coming back soon. Side note, I posted this on both my Twitter and Threads accounts, a workout video that Jonathan Kaminga's a close friend. I don't know if they're cousins, but G is someone who travels with the team and with him. He's Kaminga's a photographer. I don't know if you've ever met him, Sophia, behind the scenes. He's a great dude. I call him a friend, and I'm hoping to get him and Kaminga on the show at some point. Anyways, he posted this video of Kaminga. It was a workout video showing him damn near close to ready. And this is a very new video, so strongly recommend checking it out You know what? Why don't I just play it here? I don't think we're going to violate any copyright by doing so. Let's do it. This is courtesy of, again, his name is G. He goes by IG. That's his handle on most media platforms, including YouTube and Instagram. And here is Jonathan Kaminga very recently working out. I think he's looking good. Sophia, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Let's take a look at Jonathan Kaminga, who is expected to come back after the All-Star break. And audio, I'll include the audio as well. Here is Kaminga. And that's him working out the ankle. That's the ankle that he sprained. So the fact that he's doing that shows that the strength is back and he's damn close. Any reaction to watching Kaminga in a very propaganda way of promoting him, but who cares? He looked good there. What are your thoughts, Sophia?
Yeah, I was going to say there are a lot of cases where players look amazing in workout videos,
Yeah.
but it translates differently on the court. But just to see him kind of moving and participating in basketball drills is definitely positive.
Absolutely. And I don't know if he's going to be back in time for Friday. In fact, today's Monday. Happy President's Day, by the way. We're supposed to get an update on Kaminga. I don't know if a new report's been released, but he might be available Friday. We shall see. And if there's any news on that, we'll definitely publish it. Chef A, thank you so much for the love. Mentioning to hit that like button, folks, please. The subscribe button, particularly, please. IMG Manny, who's a new Golden Dazer, dropped the $1.99 to write this. So I'm not writing this to gain attention, I promise. But thank you for the compliment. Yeah, I finally trimmed the beard and gave myself a haircut. So thank you for the compliment. Very nice of you. Do you want to hear the worst lineups before we go for the Warriors since Jimmy Butler got here?
Yeah.
So these are we ran off the top lineups for the Warriors in terms of net rating in the 4 games that Jimmy Butler has played in a Warriors uniform. The worst lineups, unfortunately, also have Jimmy Butler in them. The worst 5 is Butler, Kevon Looney, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, and Brandon Pajemski. This is a lineup that we oftentimes see in the second quarter where Jimmy Butler is leading the backup unit. That 5 has a -10. Second worst is, and this is weird, Stephen Curry usually is not on the worst list. He's on this one. Steph, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, and Quentin Post. That lineup has a -8. Third worst, and this is a tie, so there's 2 more here. Kevon Looney, Buddy Hield, Pat Spencer, Gui Santos, and Brandon Pajemski, a -7. And tied with that is Steph, Jimmy Butler, Kevon Looney, Buddy Hield, and Moses Moody. They also have a +7. Again, 4 games, not a lot to read. I just wanted to share what we have so far in terms of data for these units. Your thoughts on the worst lineups for the Warriors?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's not a ton of variety in some of them from the top lineups, which kind of makes you wonder how much just like one player can make a difference in 5 on the floor. But yeah, it's definitely, I mean, having Jimmy in those makes sense because there still are some growing pains that the Warriors will have to work out with him still learning some of the new things on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm personally in love with the Jimmy Butler experience. We're 4 games in, and we're going to have a lot more to come. 27 games remaining on the season. OMG Manning dropping another $1.99, saying Jimmy Butler needs to stop trying to pass, score the ball. I don't mind that so much. He's trying to involve his teammates. What's your reaction, Sophia, to Manny saying, Jimmy, just take it to the hole yourself. Stop involving your teammates.
Yeah, he did a lot of that with Miami as well, where there felt like times he would overpass, but on the Warriors, I think it works out. And again, it could just be not necessarily wanting to take that major scoring leap right away and instead set up your teammates, which is something that Jimmy has always done in the past. He's a pretty unselfish player.
Agreed. And I think a lot of this too is him just feeling out his teammates, him trying to acclimate himself, assimilate himself with his team. I mean, the last thing I think Jimmy Butler wants is to come on a new team and garner a reputation of being selfish, of not involving his teammates. And again, it's a team sport, right? I mean, it's good to involve your teammates. Don't be overly unselfish either. And I think Jimmy Butler is smart enough to know that. But Jill Espina real fast in the chat asked which four guard. I'm sorry. No, she just wrote any four guard lineup is the worst. I thought she was asking to provide results for 4-man individuals. Real fast, while I have this data in front of me, I just want to reveal two-player lineups. And more specifically, I'm curious to know how Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry are on the floor together. And in 4 games, the best duo is Steph and Podziemski. They're a plus 57 in the 4 games since Jimmy Butler has gotten here. That's insane. And then Moses. And again, this is why when people wonder, why does Brandon Podziemski get so many minutes? A huge part of it is he plays winning basketball. Like, I'm looking at the data for the best duos on the Warriors right now. 4 of the top 5 all have Brandon Podziemski in it. Stephen Curry and Podziemski as a duo, plus 57. Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski as a duo, plus 44. Draymond Green and Brandon Podziemski together, plus 42. The first non-Podziemski duo to have a very high night rating together as a duo, Stephen Curry and Moses Moody, plus 35. And then number 5, Jimmy Butler and Brandon Podziemski, a plus 30. The dude is a winner. What are your thoughts when you hear? And again, I know duos is mostly a stat that we're just having fun with here, but there is a hint of reality applied to this. What's your reaction to that, Sophia?
I would just say, because it's one of those things where with Podziemski as point guard, he knows how to make his teammates better, and so that's why I think with some of the duos, that's that just point guard skill in knowing that you don't need to score all the time, but what best can I do to set up my teammate?
Totally. He's a winner. I mean, the guy he wins. And again, there's so many intangibles that go into it. Like you said, he's a point guard, so he likes to get his teammates involved. He doesn't commit costly, timely turnovers, which is important. And that's something that does not usually show up on a stat sheet. I still can't find the Jimmy Butler Steph duo. I'm so curious to see through 4 games how those two are playing together. And for the life of me, I cannot find the stat that has those two playing together. Oh, here it is. I found it. So, it's an even 0. All right, there you go. So Steph and Jimmy Butler as a duo when they're on the court together, a 0 in net rating. So it's only 4 games. I'm not too worried about it. Any final thoughts as we wrap it up? We put an hour in here, which is shocking to me. Didn't feel like it, but always great to see you, Sophia. You join us every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, unless there's a game Monday, in which case you come on right after. Any WNBA news to share? Valkyries news. Floor is yours.
No recent Valkyries news and no recent WNBA news either, actually. Just I guess for the Valkyries this past weekend with All-Star being here in the Bay, they unveiled their brand new practice facility, which they just remodeled the Warriors' old one in Oakland. So that looks like it's going to be really top rate and hopefully we'll attract some players.
Absolutely. A few chats before we go. Byron Knox, a Golden Dazer, saying, do you think Kevin Knox will get playing time? That's a great question. Kevin Knox is still not official because the Warriors can't formally publish these press releases announcing that Kevin Knox is a member of the Warriors until the date that they're going to make it official. And they have to toe this really creative line in terms of these 13th and 14th roster spaces, fitting them under the cap. So it's not official yet, but Anthony Slater reported that Kevin Knox will be given a 10-day deal, and the Warriors want to see how he fits before offering him anything more than that. But Sophia, any reaction to Kevin Knox, who's going to be a member of the Warriors after the All-Star break?
You mentioned the March schedule that the Warriors have. I could see him sliding into some of those games, especially if the Warriors get onto a roll. This would be the perfect time to get him some playing.
Good call on that. Kevin Dana was on the show a couple days ago, and he provided some terrific analysis on that. Dana will come back on the show soon. Chef A Golden Dazer, and thank you everyone for dropping the ducats to be a Golden Dazer, an official member of the program, saying, and again, they admit they're not minting words here, but they just don't think Buddy Hield has a high IQ. And look, recently we've seen games where Buddy's own teammates on the floor, where Draymond, Steph, like they have clearly, visibly expressed their frustration at times, whether Buddy's not cutting, whether he's missing defensive assignments, fighting over screens. I'm not going to go as far as to attack his IQ, but Sophia, your reaction to the Buddy Hield criticism?
I would just say Steve Kerr does not play low IQ players. He doesn't. And so for him to have that much trust in Buddy and having as many situations as Buddy is in, I don't agree with that.
There's a stat, I don't have it in front of me, but no, I hear you. And there's a stat that I saw. This was before the 3-point contest, and I think TNT published the stat, and it completely reinforced your analysis about Buddy Hield off the dribble versus Buddy Hield as a catch and shoot player. This season, entering the All-Star break, Buddy Hield as a catch and shoot 3-point shooter is hitting 40% of his threes. That's a great clip. But when he's putting up threes off the dribble, meaning he's creating his own shot, it's down to 29%. That completely supports what you said, which is that teams have shut that part of Buddy's game down. The early part of the season when the Warriors started 12-3, there was a complete correlation between that and Buddy lighting it up in the scoring on the box score with points, with 3-point shots. And team scouting departments have clearly figured that part out, that, okay, as long as you prevent Buddy from beating you like with the off the ball movement and being set up for the catch and shoot, we can contain that guy. And again, that's his struggle. Like just if Buddy is trying to create his own shot, don't. I think that's the best advice. Just, either catch and shoot those threes or pass the ball if you can't get a clear look. What's your reaction to the stats that TNT presented at the 3-point contest?
Yeah, just kind of like what we both were saying, with where he's most dangerous when he's just catching and shooting and playing off ball majority, and then just being on the perimeter, coming off of screens, finding those spots, and not as much downhill playmaking. When a player can run him off the line and force him to go downhill, that's most likely what's in the scout.
Yeah. Kev F adding that Buddy Hield did carry Team Bahamas. The stat that blows my mind the most still is the fact that Buddy Hield has made more threes the last 5 years than any NBA player, Stephen Curry included. I don't care that Steph didn't play in 2020. That's still an absurd stat. Anything to add to that? I'm sorry.
I mean, it just shows how even though there might be a perception on what Buddy can do and if he's really a shot maker, he does make a lot of threes, and it comes at a high volume. So as a defender, you have to honor that, and that's really what helps to create a lot of spacing on the floor, and why that lineup that he was in is the highest net rating.
Totally. OMG Manny dropping another $1.99. Thank you so much for the support. Saying if the Warriors make the playoffs, you will donate $100. Thank you. That's and just to piggyback off that, if the Warriors win the championship, I will never criticize Steve Kerr again. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. He is immune. He will have earned that privilege with the 5th championship. The fact that it's a possibility is all I think any of us could ask for. And Draymond's prediction, Matt Owen, man, that was some fascinating stuff there. Are we done, Sophia? Anything else you want to add?
No final thoughts from me.
How's USF doing, by the way?
Our women's team is right about at the middle of the conference. One of our best players that was predicted to be all first team this year, and she was all first team last year. She tore her ACL, so been out for the season, just riddled with some injuries, but the girls are still doing what they can. On the men's side, I think they're sitting third in the conference right now, so they're doing pretty strongly.
Beautiful. Good to hear. As I'm sure you know, when the team is bad, it makes your job so much more difficult. And then when they're playing well, vice versa, it also goes appropriately. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll have some various shows this week as we slowly lead back up to NBA action. The Warriors resume play on Friday, taking on the Sacramento Kings. That is going to be a pivotal game in terms of playoff standings, because those two teams are tied right now at the bottom of the play-in. They're 9-10 if I have my stats correct. I think they have the exact same record. So that's a big one, and I think that's going to matter a lot in terms of the head-to-head. Because correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be wrong on this. I'm spitballing here, but I think if the Warriors beat Sacramento Friday, then their head-to-head record is tied at 2-2. Is that true? Do you know that, Sophia? And you don't have to. I don't either. I think that's the case, though. I'll come back and confirm that another day. But regardless, even if it's not true, that's still a very important game. And until then, well, I'm going to dedicate one show this week to just the NBA. I want to just have an NBA program, and I think I'm going to have David Rush, who's known as the mayor of NBA Threads, on the program soon, to just have an NBA show, have an outsider perspective on the Warriors. But stay tuned for that. The Hall of Famer Rick Barry is going to join us. Sophia joins us every Monday. And I think that's it. So stay tuned for that. I think we need to hear from Draymond Green one more time, because those words are music to my ears. Draymond.
We are going to win the championship. Wow. We are going to win the championship.
Wow. Wait, what?
We are going to win the championship.
Wow. I hear you.
We are going to win the championship.
Wow. Excuse me?
We are going to win the championship.
Wow. Hell yeah!
We are going to win the championship.
Wow.
We are going to win the championship.
Hey,
we are going to win the championship.